Hi, welcome to What's Happening in the World of Work, Tri-Cities. I'm Carolyn Shavino. I am your career coach. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Jen Eichhorst, and she happens to be the Vice President of TerraCycle. So I am going to let Jen introduce herself, and I have some questions to ask her too. Because remember, we want to know what companies are hiring, what kind of opportunities they have, and how you, as a future employee, can gauge what they're looking for and just present yourself in a way where you can go in and have a successful interview. So welcome, Jen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Carolyn.
Thank you for being here.
Such a pleasure. I am Jen Eichhorst. I work for TerraCycle here in Aurora. I've been with the company about 15 years, so
that's fantastic.
It's been a great ride. Yeah.
Well, before we get into your wonderful company, I would like to know about your journey.
Sure.
And how you got there. And I'm going to ask you some more questions along the way, because one thing that I shared with the audience last show is that, you don't have to start at a position. You work your way up to a position many times. So I'm going to let you take it away, Jen, and let us know about your career journey.
Sure. Previous to TerraCycle, I was running a chiropractic office.
Wow.
So kind of came from a medical background, did that for 7 or 8 years. The hours were really long, right? 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. sometimes. So I was looking for something with just, a little bit of normalcy.
Was it 5 days or 6 days? I know a lot of offices are open 6 days.
Sure. That was 5 days.
Okay.
At least,
But
right?
still.
And kind of had like a longer lunch hour and things like that. So there were some perks, but, I knew I had met the right guy and was ready to settle down a little bit. So I knew I wanted something with some normal hours.
Of course.
So TerraCycle really just kind of fell into my lap. At the time it was AirCycle. We've since been acquired. But started off as an entry-level recycling coordinator role, customer facing.
How did you find them?
Um,
Were you, take us through.
Sure.
Did you find them online? Were you looking specifically for recycling?
I knew nothing about recycling.
Okay.
And most people don't,
Right.
Truly.
Right.
Especially because we deal with a lot of light bulbs and batteries and the regulated waste streams, and not many people know about those types of materials.
Right.
It was literally just a job posting that I believe my mom sent me.
Oh.
Actually, back in the day.
Thank goodness for moms.
Thank goodness for moms.
Here, you need to see this.
Yeah.
Get to work.
And just kind of applied on a whim.
Mhm.
It was a 3-round interview.
Wow.
It felt serious for sure.
Yeah.
But was basically offered the job the next day and came on. Again, started off entry level and was promoted truly almost every couple years since.
Wonderful.
So it has been a little bit of a whirlwind, right? Sometimes you jump into opportunities before you truly feel ready.
Okay.
I can't take that on, right? I'm not ready for that. I don't know how to do that. Why me, right? Why are you asking me to do that?
So what made you step into it?
Sure. A lot of encouragement, I would say, from friends and family.
Great.
And then truly just digging deep and saying, I can do this.
Yeah.
Life is an adventure.
Yes.
Try something new, learn new skills. And why not, right? Like recycling, you come to find out, is super interesting.
Oh, I think so. I can't wait till you take us through the ins and outs.
Yes,
Absolutely.
But it's mission-based, right? You can't help but feel good knowing that we're helping businesses, customers, people recycle all across the nation and the world, frankly. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Fantastic. When you said you prepped for the interview and there were 3 individuals, or you went 3 times for that interview, what kept you encouraged? What was the employer saying to you that truly kept you encouraged to go to the next step?
Sure. So it was a family-owned business at that point. So
Okay.
it felt like a close-knit group. Everybody had been there a really long time, which was a great indicator for me.
Okay.
That retention was important to them and that they must be mostly happy in their roles and in the work that they're doing to have been there so long.
Okay.
So that was really important to me. They had people like the marketing crew in there asking me questions, all the way to like the CFO. My final interview was with the owner at that point, the CEO,
Sure.
And he was out of state. So it was a phone call. It was not scheduled. So he just called me on a whim. I answered the call, and I will never forget. It was very short, maybe 15 minutes or so, but he wanted to sign off, even though, again, he was out of state, but it was still his business.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I can remember him asking me, what does your closet look like? And I thought, what a strange question, right? We're talking about recycling, and
I've never heard that before.
Yes. And I thought, as I hung up, right, like, what did he want from that?
Yeah.
I had worked retail for years also, so it's very organized, right?
Okay.
And color coordinated and things like that. And I was so grateful that I was able to speak to that, but that really stuck out to me as like.
What was your answer?
That was exactly my answer, that I had worked retail, and that all of my tank tops were together, my short sleeves, and then my long sleeves, and then color coordinated within. All of my shoes are still in their boxes, and it's still that way today.
I'm going to ask that question
it's interesting,
as an employer.
Isn't
you know what, everybody? I think we need to ask that question. What is in your closet?
What's in your closet? What
Anybody
does it look like?
even dating out there? Maybe that's a good question.
There you go.
For you to ask. What does your closet look like? I love it, Jen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just was kind of like a feel-good moment, like lighthearted, I think. And I just felt like these were people I wanted to work with and work for.
Yeah.
So it felt good. It felt like a new opportunity. And I was 2 feet in from day one.
That's great. And I think too, many times when companies are so eager to hire and they hire you on the spot, it's almost like desperation, I think. And when they put you through, as you say, the 3 different steps, which typically is you'll meet with the HR individual first, you'll do some onboarding, and then based on that interview, you'll go to the next step, and that was typically the hiring manager, correct? And then after that, that's the final step. And I think that's when a company is truly interested in what you have to offer and if you are going to be a good fit. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that. They're assessing you, right?
Yes.
And even though I came from retail and medical, some of those skills were translating, right? It was able to show that I was organized. Again, I worked that front desk, right? So that I could be customer facing for sure in that way. I could deal with critical information, could deal with people in pain, right? Which I think is something. And, I think something within that realm of work was something that they were looking for.
Right. And when you did the final interview, I guess what I hear you telling me is you were sold on them because of their interest in the company. The gentleman called you even though he wasn't working. So that sold you on how they took their company to heart and how much they loved what they did. Is that correct to say?
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important because, again, you're interviewing the company as well as they are interviewing you.
Yes, so well said.
So every time you're out there and you're on an interview, I can strongly recommend enough that you ask for a tour. And as I shared many times before, you can really get a sense of the company culture when you're on a tour. You can get a sense of if you're going to be a personality fit in that company. I think the last show, Jen, I shared, if it's a quiet environment, I certainly wouldn't fit in it because I would feel like, but I want to talk to someone, but I want to listen to some music or whatever it may be. But thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing your journey. And beyond your career journey, I want to know all about TerraCycle. I want to know what it means to you. You shared with the owners of the company, kind of shared with you, showed you. What is TerraCycle continuing to show you today?
Oh, I love that. TerraCycle is a super innovative company, which comes with a lot of challenges, right?
Okay.
And I love that, right? Like I'm a problem solver by nature.
Okay.
I want to use that part of my brain and coordinate with my team and with different stakeholders to find the solution, whether it's for our customer or an internal challenge. I certainly thrive in that environment. But TerraCycle's mission is really just that important to me, to wanting to keep pushing forward. Again, when a customer comes to us and says, hey, we have this hard to recycle material, and we say, hey, we don't have a solution for that just yet, but we have an R&D team. We're going to research and we're going to develop a solution for that.
Excellent.
Right? And so there's always something exciting to talk about within TerraCycle. Mm-hmm. The talent that they are able to bring on is also just unmatched. I am always learning from my colleagues. They are coaching and mentoring even when they don't realize that they're doing it. And I love to be in that type of environment. And I hope I also bring that to the table, right?
I'm sure you do.
Oh, thank you. But it really is a good environment in that way that, there really is no stupid questions. There's no stupid ideas.
Right.
They want everybody to share their ideas. And that's really, again, what creates that innovation within the company.
Some of the clients that you work with that actually bring their waste products, as well as I would think neighborhood individuals in their homes and things can also. But I want to know about the companies that TerraCycle has relationships with, and what do you do with those products?
Sure. So it's all plastic. Everything must be, have some sort of plastic component. And basically we're able to take those materials, put it into a category of plastic, and then it gets kind of filtered down into like little pellets, and then basically resold and remade into something different. So that's like the TerraCycle is the parent company. And then, again, I'm VP of Business Operations for the Regulated Waste Division. Which is all businesses are mandated by the EPA to recycle their light bulbs, their batteries, their ballast. So it's certainly a different sales cycle in that way that you have to do it.
Sure. I'm glad it's mandatory.
I am too, right? We don't want the mercury and things like that in our soil and the water.
And to think that we did, just throw things out years ago without somebody saying, hey, this isn't a good way to do things. This isn't good for our planet.
Yep. So it allows us to do that and partner with businesses to make sure that they're recycling in the best, most compliant way. We truly want to be like an all-in-one recycling solutions company. And that's really what sets us apart from some of our competitors.
How many operations do you have across the United States?
We just have our 2 buildings. Our largest operation is in right here in Aurora.
Yes. Yay.
Yes. So that is certainly a growing operation for us. But we used to use third parties for all of our operations.
Okay.
We have internalized all of that over the last 2.5 years, which again has been a bit of a challenge, but so fun to conquer that and to build that team and to watch that grow. It's really been awesome to watch it unfold. And then our other location is in New Jersey. And there's no operations there. It's just the CEO sits there. The sales staff, HR, all of that is kind of headed up there in New Jersey.
All right. As far as the building that you're in right now in Aurora, I know the building has some history.
It does.
And is such a beautiful historical building. Can you share a little bit about the building?
Sure, I'd be glad to. It's a 100-year-old building.
Yes, I love that.
Certainly has some history. Actually, my grandpa worked there way back in the day, which is kind of fun.
Really?
He sure did. Yeah. So it's the old Henry Pratt building, which again has some history, has kind of a heavy heart when you say that out loud. Which has been another spot where we're really trying to lean in as TerraCycle goes. We want to bring new life to this building.
Yes.
Save the environment all along the way. Employ lots of people from the Aurora and surrounding areas.
Yeah.
And really, again, just create like a good, safe environment for all of our team members to eliminate the idea of waste.
I was extremely happy to see that the building was being utilized again because it was core to the community. It was core to people being able just to walk to work from, the neighborhoods that surround the old Henry Pratt building. And when you had mentioned that, wow, we're going into the Henry Pratt building, I was like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. What a great way to revive something that, as you said, with a heavy heart that will always be remembered, but to take that heavy heart and transition it to something that can be beautiful again for the community, that can work again for the community. That's really moving things forward.
Yes, I certainly hope so. I'm hoping we're having a great impact on the community.
Well, you are.
You know, it's been a lot of fun. Again, you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You know, we always want to remember what happened and those who lost their lives.
Absolutely.
And that's such a big part of the history. But again, to be bringing new life to it feels good for us and the community.
I know recently the mayor and I believe a few folks came as dedication to the folks that did unfortunately lose their lives. During that time, how did that come about? Did the mayor contact you and say, we would like to do this, or did you contact, or?
That must have been previous to us being in that building. Yeah, the mayor has not paid us a visit quite yet, but we hope to have him here in the spring.
Well, Mayor Richard Irving.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, TerraCycle is looking for a visit, and I know that you'll be there.
Absolutely.
He's definitely very busy with the campaign and things, and the city is growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
So I'm always seeing the mayor at ribbon cutting events and such. So take us to your hiring process at TerraCycle.
Sure. So that is another part of my job that I truly love. It's not for everybody, and I will certainly be the first one to say that.
Okay.
But I truly enjoy it, and it's kind of been twofold for me now. Again, as we're taking on this new operation, that's been a huge learning for me to be hiring a labor force versus like a salaried office professional position.
That is different.
Yeah, it's very different. You know, but it really is as simple as posting the job posting on Indeed is typically what we use. Word of mouth is huge for us. You know, we love a good referral. And I mean, especially for the labor force, right? It's really typically one interview and a building tour, again, to walk them around and let them know, again, what we're doing, what our operations look like. It's definitely a two-way street, like we say with employment. So I want them to know kind of what their day-to-day is going to look like and the materials they're going to be handling. But it's a quick 30-minute interview. I just want to make sure they're going to get along with the team.
Yes, that's so key.
Right? The team, the culture.
What are some of the key indicators that they will get along with your team?
Sure. I think it's about knowing who I have existing on the floor or, again, in the office setting. Kind of knowing their personalities and how they work. And then just trying to pick up on those things within the interview. It's not necessarily something I'm looking for hard and fast. I'm very intuitive when it comes to that. And I was told that once, and I took it as an insult. That
oh, no, that's a compliment.
But it's absolutely not, right?
Absolutely.
And I've come to know that. But sometimes it's just a gut decision for me.
Yeah,
but yes, I think this person is going to work out just fine. You know, so you really just have to tap into that and listen to that, especially when it comes to the labor force, I would say.
I have been told that people hire in their own image. They hire like themselves. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I would not.
Okay.
I would not. I guess maybe in a certain scenario, sure. But typically, no. I want somebody who's going to compliment me or compliment my team members.
Spoken like a true leader. Oh. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want another you. You want, exactly like you said, Jen, somebody that's going to compliment, somebody that you could lean on as well as a leader.
Sure. I mean, the more dynamic your team is, the better off the entire team is, and especially the leader, right? Because you can pinpoint their strengths and also their weaknesses and help them thrive in that environment, which is also another favorite part of my job, right? Is like really learning what makes people tick and what they enjoy spending their time on, and then trying to feed more of that to them. But yeah, I mean, one of my latest hires was like a data entry sales support role.
Yeah.
You know, so it has to be super detail oriented. It's a lot of copy and paste, right? We need to make sure that those orders are getting to the right place.
Critical, yes.
Super critical, yeah. But in our interview, he also told me, in my spare time, I like to build websites.
Oh, my.
Kind of just for fun, right?
Fantastic.
And that's a lot of copying and pasting too, Jen. And I thought, interesting, because we're getting ready to create a new website in a year or two, right? So now I have that little nugget kind of stored away.
Yes.
Or when I need to launch a new product on our existing website, right?
Yes.
Like I might test out his skills. So it's not what he was hired to do, but that is going to fulfill him in his day because it's something he enjoys doing. It's a hobby of his.
And it could lead into something permanent.
Sure.
Never know as your company grows.
Yep.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yep. So I love those nuggets.
So what are some of the things that, I know you said that it's a gut feeling and, it's intuitive, which it is. I feel the same as an employer. However, what are some of the red flags?
Ooh.
Sometimes it's very red.
Sure.
Like right in front of your face, right?
It certainly can be.
Yeah.
I mean, you want the conversation to be flowing for sure. That's an important thing for me when I'm like trying really hard to get them to tell me a story or to, speak a little bit more. That's challenging for me. But it starts from the minute you shake my hand and you come through the door. A good handshake is important. Your first impression is so wildly important. Better to be overdressed than underdressed, if I could give a little bit of advice.
Please take it into more detail with that.
Yeah, I think
needs to be discussed.
It sure does.
Yes.
It sure does. I've kind of seen people from all walks of life, again, hiring a labor force as well as in the professional environment, but really dress the part. Put on a pair of slacks or at the very least a non-distressed pair of jeans, a nice blouse if you're a woman, a button-up collared shirt or a polo.
And nothing tight-fitting.
Nothing super tight-fitting.
Right.
Don't show too much skin, right? I've had them come in and kind of like a midriff,
yes,
crop top kind of thing, which I know is the style. I get it, but it's not appropriate for business.
It's not.
It's just not. And so that first impression with those types of things is wildly important.
I think that's what's, going out looks like, going out with your friends, going to a club or, as an employer, I've seen the same coming in. And I think it's important to sit back and ask permission if we can, kind of share what we see. And I believe people sometimes don't know.
Sure.
Because perhaps they come from an environment where it's very relaxed. Perhaps they've worked in an environment that it's okay that they dress this way. So I feel as leaders in the community, we need to ask permission and say, is it okay if I coach you a little bit on your attire? And if they say yes, with dignity and respect, we go in and when we share. Because, again, if we let people walk out the door without sharing our thoughts, I don't see how they can change. Yep. And I know you agree with me, Jen. And it's important that we as community leaders help the community understand the why behind our expectations. It's not just an expectation that you put out there or I put out there or any company. It's an expectation because this makes you feel what?
Yeah, the best.
Yes.
Right? When you look good, you feel good, and you present yourself in that way. And again, that first impression is it's everything.
It is.
All the way down to the fingernails. I
mean,
truly all the way down to the fingernails.
I agree.
I
agree.
Just normal grooming habits, I would say. There really is something to that. And I love exactly what you just said about taking that minute and tactfully coaching them in that minute, because it is invaluable. And if they truly don't know any better, as a society, especially in the younger generation, they are certainly dressing in a more casual way, right? So where do they learn that? You know, and especially, again, if it is kind of their first job and their first interview, they truly might not know any better. So I will certainly take that with me as a nugget from you, to certainly give that feedback. I think that's great advice.
Well, thank you. This generation coming up is so talented. They are beyond knowledgeable. And what I've learned is they want an opportunity to learn. They want an opportunity to be mentored. But sometimes they don't know how to communicate that. They'll come in and have a wall built. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I've certainly seen, well, the impression that they know everything, the impression that they can't be told anything. But at the end of the day, I'm learning as I sit back and coach, they're wanting to be mentored. They're wanting feedback. They're wanting somebody to say, hey, how about we try it this way? And if it doesn't work, we'll definitely try it your way.
Sure.
Because you do have a place at the table. I do value your opinion. What's your thoughts on that, Jen?
Yes, I've certainly seen some of that as well. I think there is a certain apprenticeship that happens internally within an office.
Okay, I like that.
Where those kind of like those water cooler conversations, right? Yeah. When you just like pick up on different things that are happening within the office, or how you handle a customer, how you handle any like internal conversations, even how you conduct a meeting, how you take notes in a meeting. Like there are so many tactful things I think that we could talk about as well. But no, I certainly agree. If a person can come in to a new job opportunity and be coachable, and show that they are eager to learn, they have my heart forever. They just do, because
even when they leave, come back in contact, right?
Because there is nothing more important. Exactly. If you are willing to learn and you are coachable and you take feedback and you're able to do a little bit of self-reflection, and then show up a little better the next day, we're all winning. And
exactly.
I know that, my team members, although I have a great retention rate, they won't be with me forever. But I do hope that, after 5-10 years, that I have certainly left them in a better place than when they started. And they have a whole new set of skills, whether they're hard or soft, to take with them onto their next adventure.
Spoken like a true leader. I share that with my team as well. Just take nuggets right now. That's right. And you're feeding me too.
Yep.
I'm learning from my team every day. Every day. Most recently, I'll share something with you, Jen. Most recently, one of my team members said to me, you know what, Carolyn, it's not what you say. Sometimes it's how you say it. I notice, Carolyn, that when you're in a hurry, you kind of just blurt things out. But when you're not, you take the time to explain the why. You take your time differently. If we could have more of that, Carolyn, and I was like, oh my goodness. But you know what? As leaders, we have to take that feedback.
Oh, sure.
And I seriously had to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I was like, did I just get scolded here? But I thought to myself, no, it was meant out of love, like I do for my team. And I took that, and actually at an event that my team member was at, I shared what I was asked to do. And I think that it's a two-way street, no matter what. And you are an effective leader because you get that so clearly, Jen. Sure. And it's rare. It's rare. And that's why I think the show is so important, because as leaders, as business leaders, something got lost. And I'm older, so okay, you probably don't remember this, but I do. 9/11 came. And a lot of the businesses, unfortunately, had to cut back financially, and rightly so, because we were going through a transition as a country, and businesses with losses and so forth. But not to bring that up, but a lot of the HR directors and managers were let go. And the same thing happened in 2008. And folks were let go. So when they were able to come back, what I've seen is HR directors, not all, but most, and most of them are my friends and still in this amazing job, career, opportunity to be with people, unfortunately are no longer coaching. What they're doing is putting people in front of a venue and saying, here, go ahead and listen, here's your checkoff sheet. And they're putting out fires now. More like with benefits and things. So that coaching, that sitting at the table and saying, but you can tell me and let me tell you, and just that interfacing,
yep.
I think maybe a little shallow right now.
I would agree with that, which is such a huge miss, because I'm sure you can relate to this and absolutely feel the same way, but there is nothing more fulfilling than coaching and making that impact on the team.
Agreed.
And again, especially when they're coachable, right? And I think that's an important note also about what your team member shared with you, that little bit of feedback, because that might be super important to her.
Yes.
But maybe not the next person, right? They might not think anything of it when you're blurting something out and you're a little bit more direct, right?
Oh, that's just Carolyn.
That's just Carolyn, right.
Right.
But I think that speaks to coaching and mentoring, right? That not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody wants to be coached the same way.
Excellent point.
And so it really is, again, tapping into that person and what you know about them and how they will receive your message or your information, your coaching, your knowledge, whatever it is in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But that you can't have the same message to all of your team members and say it the exact same way.
Right.
Because they won't pick up on it in the same way.
Everybody in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Well, I would definitely love to have you back, because you are a fine leader.
Thank you.
You have so much to offer. And again, this show is also for individuals who want to learn how to prep,
mm-hmm.
but also to ask questions of us.
Sure.
And to see, where they can sharpen up, and different learning materials
Sure.
that are available to them that
mm-hmm.
don't cost money.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
People need to be coached. Sometimes people are coming from an environment that they simply just don't know, or don't have the tools, or don't have the people
mm-hmm.
to really support them.
Sure.
So I would love to have you back to discuss more of the leadership tools. Where can people go to find these resources that aren't going to cost thousands of dollars?
Mm-hmm.
I know the library is one.
Sure.
So I'm going to end with the future of work.
Mm.
What do you see for 2025?
Sure. In regards to hiring mostly, yes?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I think it's going to continue on finding those problem-solving skills, critical thinking. Some of this is hard to gauge from an interview. So sometimes, again, that's where that intuition and that gut feeling comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But emotional intelligence as well.
Yes.
Choosing facts over feelings within the workplace is something I also have to remind myself of, right? Not to get carried away in those moments of frustration or emotion. And I think those skills will continue to be so readily important.
Yes.
And again, hard to gauge a little bit within an interview, but sometimes you just have to pick up on it. I encourage everybody to research the company that you are applying for. Be prepared
Indeed.
In that interview.
Yes.
And always have a question or two just jotted down.
Yes. And bring extra resumes.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Right. Just in case. It never hurts. But I think in the future, could AI be looking at certain resumes and, looking for certain keywords and things like that? But there is such a human element to building a team. Again, making sure that they fit in with the culture, with the existing team members, and that they have those soft skills that we're looking for so often. That human element really needs to be brought to the table. Like you can't just rely on AI and things like that in the future. That is something that'll
never be lost.
That's right.
Never be lost.
That's right.
And one thing that I'm seeing too is people can just type in what they want their resume to look like.
Oh, yes.
In Copilot or whatever tool AI they're using, and it populates something that they've never done.
Yep.
So the human element and really breaking down the layers. And most importantly, we're going to hire folks that fit into the culture.
Yep.
Because we want a cohesive team, not somebody coming in that's going to try to break up the team.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. You don't want disruption,
No.
right? You want it to be a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
So that's always what you're after when you're hiring.
I just want to say thank you.
Glad to be here.
You are such a delight.
Thank you.
And a wonderful influencer in this community. And we're just privileged to have TerraCycle as part of Aurora, privileged to have TerraCycle go into 100-year-old building and make it vibrant again.
Yep.
That's outstanding.
Yes. Yeah, we truly can't wait. Renovations start here in the spring on the office portion.
Please invite me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, we plan to have a ribbon cutting and invite some, of the fellow Auroraans into the building to see the new life. So yeah, we really can't wait.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jen.
Sure.
I appreciate you very much. And I appreciate you, our wonderful audience, for the Tri-Cities here. And as I share all the time, I want to give a big thank you to the Aurora Cable TV Network. They are amazing engineers that make this happen. They are visionaries that continue to keep the communication open in Aurora and what's happening, because there's so much goodness that is happening around us. So let's focus on the good for 2025. Let's focus on holding each other up in 2025. Let's focus on the prize, and that's being the best that we can be and helping others be the best that they can be as employers and as employees. Thank you so much for joining.